Hi, I'm Jim, and this is Call to Battle. It is Christmas time, my favorite time of year. I love the fall into Christmas. I'm somewhat of a Christmas fanatic. Matter of fact, here's take a look at my house, what I do. I like to put up all these decorations, light up the trees, and I have the arches on my driveway. A lot of the wooden stuff you see, I made years ago when I used to really enjoy that. I don't do as much anymore. I keep buying these store-bought stuff now. But I enjoy doing this stuff. I think Christmas is just a wonderful time of year, and the question. But every year I come in the same issues of people trying to tell me, that Christmas is based on pagan holidays and stuff like that, which always drives me crazy. So today I thought we'd talk about a little bit about, is Christmas from a pagan holiday, which for me, no, it's not at all. And what happened is years ago, we can stop this. I actually met a gentleman who studied the origins of Christmas for 7 years in Europe. He went around Europe trying to figure out the origins of Christmas, the whole thing, from, how we got to what it looks like now to back then. And it was quite fascinating. And he told us that almost everything you see on the internet is wrong. I'm like, okay, it's based on a pagan holiday, on the winter solstice. He said, and so here's some of the stuff he gave that showed it wasn't. And I have his notes. I still use his notes. I enjoy it. But he said, no, there was a winter festival. Yes, there was, very much so. But winter festival had nothing to do with the winter solstice. That's like, it's based on the winter solstice. No, the winter festival, and I'll keep referring to his notes. The harvest had finished. There's plenty of free time. The alcohol had finished fermenting. Meat had been slaughtered. There was the deep freeze had not set in yet. But part of what he was doing is the winter festival was the rich people thanking the poor people who worked the land, who helped bring the harvest in so they could sell it. So it was actually a time where there's a big party thanking the workers for everything they had done, and that was what the winter festival was all about. In what they were starting to celebrate. Nothing to do with solstice, nothing to do with Roman gods or Greek gods. That was that. He goes, he studied this. This is what the festival was, and he goes, for some reason they want to say Christmas came out of this. He said, but if you want to track it to that, you can. He said, but you really can't say it came from that. But there was a festival, and it was thanking people for all their hard work during the cold months, because it'd be a few months before they could work the land again. But the question is there anything that tells us that it's actually about celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ? No. So he studied the history, and he found out, yeah, very much so. Basically, he said, no, the nativity story starts circulating in the 100 AD and so forth. But the question he had was, how did we get to December 25th? And some theologians, which they weren't good at tracking history, but what they thought was that that Jesus would be born on spring marks the beginning of life and creation, and spring began then on March 25th. So Jesus would be conceived on that time. It was a time of light. I'm sure I get this right. It was, God said, let there be light coming into the world. So they looked at March 25th. Well, of course Jesus was conceived on March 25th because it's beginning of spring and beginning of light. The winter months are over. And so he'd be conceived there, which means 9 months later is December 25th. So he'd be born there. So they actually thought, this is, somewhere around 200 to 300 AD. They thought Jesus was actually born on December 25th. It wasn't from a pagan holiday. It wasn't from any of this stuff. They actually thought he was born December 25th. And so that's what they started celebrating. And you think, well, is there any other ways that we know that proof that it happened? And so this guy who did this research actually wrote down a bunch of interesting things which he discovered. And one was that Augustine had actually we call a Christmas sermon in like 401 AD. He's talking about Christmas. And then we have, we have the sermon in Natalie Domini, which is referring to the birth of Jesus, born in the season, is when Jesus was. We actually have Apostolic Constitution in around 230 AD. It says, "Brethren, observe the festival day and the first of all the birthday which you are to celebrate on the 25th of the 25th of the month." And so they're thinking that's when Jesus is born. Hippolytus of Rome around he said between 170 and 240. The first coming of our Lord, that in flesh which he was born at Bethlehem, took place 8 days before the Kalends of January, which is December 25th. That's what they have there. Theophilus said we ought to celebrate the birthday of our Lord on whatever day the 25th of December shall happen. So there's a number of places where they're referring to the birth of Jesus on December 25th. They're not talking about these gods, these Roman or Greek gods. They're not talking about winter solstices. They're not talking about any of this stuff. They're talking about the birth of Jesus. Hey, there goes my Charlie Brown clock going off. But so they saw Jesus' birthday as December 25th. Now, we can get to a whole nother discussion how it became to look like Santa Claus, his reindeer. That's a whole nother story, which it turned into that. It did not start, when they're celebrating the birth of Jesus, it did not start with reindeer and Santa Claus. As a matter of fact, in around 300 AD, Christians were being executed in their crime for celebrating Christmas. Basically, Christianity was still outlawed. It wasn't until Constantine came along and stopped that. But he actually was just he was executing Christians, but he had a conversion. He stopped it. But Christians were being executed for celebrating the birth of Jesus. So if Christmas was a pagan holiday, why would they be executing them for celebrating Jesus' birthday if it was a pagan holiday? Matter of fact, they would have encouraged it. They would say, oh, yes, we've roped these Christians into celebrating something that's pagan, and they would have encouraged it, celebrated, been happy about it. But they weren't. Thousands and thousands of Christians were jailed and executed for celebrating Jesus' birthday on December 25th. So we have that there. We see that as proof. But yet people want to say they took it from a pagan holiday, which I don't know how you get that from that. So it doesn't make sense. But as I said, I could go into a whole thing on how it came to look like it looked. As a matter of fact, how it looked like that, like with Santa and so forth, that a lot of it came from a group called the Knickerbocker group and it actually goes back to New York. Yeah, actually, New York had a main thing to do with it. And funny enough, it's Washington Irving, John Pintard, Clement Moore, a visit from St. Nicholas, a night before Christmas. These are the men who actually can help make it into what it is today, with Santa and so forth. But December 25th was the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. It got changed as the years went on. But to say it doesn't come from a pagan holiday just doesn't hold water. So I always get intrigued by this time of year. And if you want, I can go through the Knickerbocker group at some point and explain how that's a really fascinating story of what they did, and that this story, the story of it's night before Christmas, and it's funny Clement Moore would have an impact on how we celebrate now with kids, how kids celebrate now with Santa and so forth. But I just want to say, get just a little knock on this myth that Christmas came from a pagan holiday. It did not. It was always based on the birth of Jesus. Now, I'll be back to do another one, a few other of the myths or about Christmas. The next one will be a little more on how people misrepresent the Bible and Mary and Joseph and so forth about the whole Christmas season. But I hope you enjoyed. Hope you're having a very Merry Christmas season. I know I am. I'll talk to you soon. God bless.